Alright, so today I want to cover the topic, I was wrong about snakes. And believe it or not, I've actually presented some information that was not correct on some of my videos. And as a YouTuber behind the camera working here every day, putting out daily videos day after day, I can kind of share with you kind of my schedule, what I do every day here on YouTube. Essentially what I do is I come up with a topic, number one, that's the hardest part. So for example, I'll think about, what can I do today for a video that's interesting? How about comparing ball pythons to corn snakes? I actually did that video a while ago. And essentially what I do is once I have the topic, I sit down and I do several hours of research. I look at different forums and videos all across the internet, put the information together, and then present it to you here on YouTube. And it was kind of interesting. I actually did that video, corn snakes versus ball pythons, and I actually made a mistake. I actually saw someone else's video and they said corn snakes are not constrictors. And I wasn't really familiar with corn snakes. I just bought my first corn snake, so I wasn't very familiar with it. And I actually presented the information saying that they're not constrictors. And as soon as that video posted, there were several people that said, hey, by the way, a corn snake is actually a constrictor. It actually wraps around the prey and suffocates it. It's a constrictor. And it's kind of interesting as a YouTuber because it's not only the short-term correction, I get corrected week after week, month after month, year after year on the same stuff. So here it is months and months later, and I still have people commenting on that video saying, hey man, you're crazy, corn snakes are a constrictor. And it's almost like iron sharpens iron, because if someone corrects me, I don't only hear it once, I hear it multiple times over and over and over, and it sinks in and it gets really ingrained. As a matter of fact, I think my videos today are a lot more accurate than if you were to look at some of my videos from a year ago, because I really, learned a lot from the audience and the interaction and have a lot of correction over the years. So what I want to do today is I want to show you some of the mistakes that I made on some of my videos, some of the inaccurate information, maybe give you kind of an insight into some of the stuff that I presented that might not be very accurate. Alright, so I'm going to show you my corn snake. This is Big Red. Big Red's pretty awesome. And actually, believe it or not, I actually bought this snake just for that video. Take a look at Big Red. He is so cute. And I actually got him from a pet store that just got him from a lady who only ever had one snake. And she sold it to the pet store. And then I was actually thinking about doing that video. The corn snakes versus ball pythons. I thought this would be a perfect snake. He's really awesome, and I've never had a corn snake before, so it was kind of neat to actually get one and kind of work with them. And the thing that I've learned about corn snakes is they're pretty squirrely. This guy is kind of all over the place. He's just kind of all, it's like a ball python usually kind of stands still, and this guy it seems like he's a little more, I'd say a lot more squirrely, just kind of going all over the place, almost never stopping, compared to Bobby, who just kind of hangs out on my shoulders pretty much for the whole movie. And the interesting thing about corn snakes is that I'd say this is probably one of the larger examples of corn snakes. They really don't get much bigger than this. And corn snakes, by the way, these are constrictors. Believe me, they are constrictors. I've been corrected several times on that topic. It's kind of interesting. But this is a really cool corn snake. He is really neat. I don't really bring him out on the camera very much. Look at how cute he is. Really awesome corn snake. His face is, I'd say they probably have the cutest face of all the snakes. He is really super cute. Alright. So let me pull another snake out. I want to show you something else. Alright, so this snake around my neck, this is a spider ball python. This also has the jungle woma gene in. You can hardly tell it has jungle woma. It just slightly reduces the pattern with jungle woma. This is almost exactly what a normal spider looks like. Really beautiful snake. Probably one of the best standalone morphs. It actually has some problems. A lot of people shy away from spiders because they have neurological issues and a little bit of head wobble. And you can see on this guy, he has pretty much no head wobble at all. You can see maybe just a kind of a little bit of a shake in the head, but I'd say in most cases the head wobble on all my spiders is really slight, not much at all. And a lot of times I'll actually get up here and say, you know, if you actually take a spider and you breed it to a spider, the super spider is a lethal combination. Pretty much you should avoid that combination. And come to find out, there's actually someone that produced a super spider. And I'd say, you know, in some cases there are actually exceptions to the rule, but probably even with that information, I would still avoid breeding spider to spider or spider to anything in what we call the spider complex, like champagne or sable or woma or hidden gene woma. Those are all, they're all associated with neurological issues, and if you actually breed them together, you risk a higher instance of neurological issues if you actually produce those combos. But I would say in some cases, some people actually produce some of these snakes as an exception, so it's not always the case. All right, so here's another snake. Take a look at this. This is Frosty, a pinstripe ball python. Look at how cute this snake is. One of my hatchlings from this year, a really awesome snake. And the pinstripe's kind of interesting. Normally, I'll stand up here in front of the camera and say the pinstripe is dominant. If you breed pinstripe to pinstripe, you won't get a super. And I'd say it's kind of interesting on some of these supers. Sometimes people consider it a lethal combination, and sometimes for whatever reason, you just don't get a super pinstripe. And sure enough, there is an exception. I actually went over to Morphmarket and there was a couple super pinstripes listed, and it's kind of interesting that people will actually produce those and kind of show them over on Morphmarket. They look exactly like a regular pinstripe, but really what I want to see, you know, some results from the breeding and some of the clutches. I want to see some videos of the proof of some of these anomalies. Sometimes you kind of hear rumors about some of this stuff and you actually don't see the proof. You know, if you had a super pinstripe and you had like maybe 3 or 4 clutches under your belt where everything that was produced was a pinstripe, then I would believe it. And it's kind of interesting, if there is a super pinstripe, that there is just a couple examples over on Morphmarket. It's pretty rare that actually someone produced them kind of out of the blue after all these years with a pinstripe that's been around for almost 20 years. You'd think if it was really common, you'd actually see a lot more super pinstripes. So I'd say that is one of the cases where I probably got the information a little bit incorrect, and I've actually seen an exception, people producing super pinstripes. Alright, so it is time for the question of the day. And Madeir and Marvel asks, how do I know when I should put my male ball python with my female? And that is a very good question. Essentially, you want to keep all snakes separate until you pair them up. And a lot of people, you know, have different techniques as far as pairing them up. I don't think you can really look at your snakes and kind of figure out their attitude if they're in the breeding mode or not. And what I actually do is I actually look at the calendar, and when it's October 15th, I start pairing up my snakes. And I think a lot of people actually look at the follicle sizes on some of their females. The follicles are actually the immature eggs within the female, and a lot of people try to stimulate the follicle growth by extra feeding, trying to feed them a little bit more and get some weight on the females, trying to get those follicles up to 10 millimeters so they can start breeding. And some people will actually get pretty hardcore and you know, look at the follicles, kind of chart them down and say, all right, you should pair up on 10 millimeters, you should pair up on 20 millimeters and 30 millimeters, and kind of like that. And essentially what I do is I just start pairing up on a certain day, and then pretty much go through every month, just pair up on a regular schedule, whether it be like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5 weeks. Pretty much once a month you put the males in with the females, kind of rotate through all the females. And keep in mind, you can actually breed up to 3 females with 1 male, although I've actually bred quite a few females with Bobby here. But at one time I think I had like 10 females that Bobby actually was breeding. I think like 8 of them laid or something like that. I'll have to look back at my records. But the first year I was breeding them, he bred a lot of females. And now he really doesn't breed any females. He just kind of hangs out here for YouTube videos. Breeding's kind of interesting. As a matter of fact, I've seen some people, they kind of get a little bit more hardcore, where if a snake doesn't breed, if the male's not really in the mood, they have some other tricks to get the males in the mood. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually take a shed from from another snake, like another male, and put it in the tub with the male and the female. Sometimes that'll kind of get them kick-started a little bit. Another trick is if you actually take one male, put it in another tub with another male, and they kind of fight a little bit, sometimes that can actually spur them into breeding with a female. And I've actually never tried that myself, although I had a kind of a situation once where I was actually breeding my snakes. It was my very first year with Bobby and some of my females, and I bought this whole collection of, I think it was like 7 or 9 females or something like that, and I put them in my rack over here, and I was moving Bobby through all the females, and Bobby got up to one of the females, and come to find out it was actually a male and not a female. I put him in that tub, and that rack sounded like it was shaking, like the whole rack was shaking. Come to find out I actually had 2 males in one tub, and they can fight pretty bad if you actually have 2 males together, especially during breeding season. If you're moving a male from a female to a female to a female, and then all of a sudden you throw it in with another male, it seems like they can really start sparring. So that is pretty much it. Just wanted to share some of the misinformation that, you know, is kind of propagated through some videos, and you're always learning, you're always improving. And of course, my first videos are not as good as my last videos. And it's kind of interesting when people comment on my videos, you know, they say, hey, you said this wrong. So I click on their username, go over to their YouTube channel, and most of the times they don't have any videos. So a lot of times people don't realize what it's like in front of the camera. I'd say it's almost kind of like being the president, because, you know, the president, everything he says is recorded and then played back over and over and over. You know, sometimes you can actually make mistakes. Some people don't actually, well, they won't actually admit their mistakes. They'll just kind of keep pushing through it. And that's kind of what makes late night TV so funny, about all the mistakes and some of the incorrect information that comes from some of these politicians and the president and everybody else, because, you know, it's getting up here, everything you say is recorded and played back again and again and again. It's a little bit different on this side of the camera versus if you're just talking to someone on the street or something like that. Let me tell you, it's a different experience here on YouTube. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.